Hello, welcome everybody back to another episode of Energy Unleashed. My name is Suzanne Worthley, and I am here with my now getting back on her feet partner, Kim Hess. Hey, Kim.
Yeah, I know.
What?
You can hear my voice now.
Yes, she sounded like a frog yesterday. So we are actually, I think for this particular one, going to dive into kind of what is going on energetically and kind of what happened to Kim. I said we're going to use you as the guinea pig today because I think it's important for us to understand that these energies right now are crazy. But first off, take what resonates, toss the rest. But I know for a fact that a lot of family members, even clients and friends, have been really struggling. I mean, really struggling for a long period of time with health in the last couple months, actually starting since January. The energies are really unpredictable and very chaotic and almost, I don't want to go to the extent of saying volatile, but I think that they may get some peaks and valleys that are pretty volatile around our eclipse, which is on the 8th of April. And then, of course, we have our equinox, which is next week already. So, equinox is a day early, by the way, 19th. And so I think it's very interesting for us to sort of look between those time periods because there's such big energies in the cosmos and they are kicking our rear ends as humans down here on the planet. And
Mm.
so a lot of people are going to be um, experiencing more than they're used to in terms of this chaoticness. And it can really take a toll on your health and wellness. And you're a perfect example of that. And nobody's judging anybody. Nobody's saying you did anything right or wrong or bad or you weren't doing well. But yeah, you got your butt kicked.
I
So
got my butt kicked.
yeah.
Yeah, so in January, I took a week-long trip. I hadn't been flying for a while, and then I was on a cruise ship, so that was, kind of started feeling off after that trip.
Hmm.
And then a few weeks later, we went to Hawaii for a couple of weeks. One of the things that was really interesting about when I started to feel off, I had done a detox that actually I started to not feel so good after that detox. And I think it wasn't the right thing for me to be doing at that time.
What kind of a
Um,
detox? I mean, you don't have to say brand, but I mean,
no, I did a 30 hours of just water,
oh,
trying to reset my body a little bit. And
yeah.
then I did a 10-day of they were like doing shakes, but eating vegetables and fruits, that
Hmm.
kind of thing.
Hmm.
And I think there was something in that mix too that didn't agree with me that is probably on the grain side
Yeah.
that can be sensitive to certain grains. So I started to kind of feel just a little like in my sinuses, like a little off. But then you know what? I didn't feel bad, so I kept going. Um, and so then I found during that time, I wasn't sleeping well. And I wasn't like I was waking up every 2 or 3 hours, staying awake. There were nights that I actually would fall asleep like 4 in the morning, and then get up at 7. I just wasn't able to sleep very well. And even in Hawaii, all the work that I was doing with myself and with the water and land, I found that my sleep was still pretty erratic.
Hmm.
And then, it was a very relaxing trip. It wasn't like we were going Mach 10 the whole time or anything. But I did find that we were eating some foods that I don't normally eat, hanging out with my in-laws.
Hmm.
And she had a really busy day at Costco and picked up some things that, have ingredient lists like this long. And so I could kind of feel that was setting me off a little bit too. But by the time we were leaving Hawaii, I was not feeling great.
Right.
Um, a long flight. I didn't sleep. I got home, hit the ground running, and within a couple days, we went down to Nebraska and with my family. And a day later, I woke up with no voice, upper respiratory tightness, and it just went from there. And it's 2 weeks of really not having a voice and coughing and sore throat, that kind of thing. Um,
Right.
and the hard part is, again, I didn't have the full body aches, body stuff that necessarily stopped me, but I kept going. I kept doing things and, trying to make life work. And by the time I got home from Nebraska, it was like, all right, I just need to park my butt for a little bit and really figure this out because it's not going away.
Yeah. And
So
again,
that's
family in Nebraska. I mean, you were around lots and lots of people.
oh, and we contaminated a few people, and my poor dad got so sick.
He got sick too. Yep.
Yeah,
Yep. And
yeah,
nobody knows who gives who what, and it's all that lovely finger pointing.
I
So,
know, right?
so, so a couple of things why I wanted to bring this up. I think we're in a time period. I was playing Uber for my 90-year-old mother this morning, getting her to a doctor appointment, and we went into just one of the clinics here, and of course, everybody is like at this time of year hearing about these, oh, that's out now, or oh, this is, now we've got all the masks coming out, which is fine. I am not judging anybody. If you want to wear a mask, awesome. But a lot of this stuff that is going around is not even mask oriented in terms of what you're catching or getting. And I'm watching people, do this on the door again. And it's like, okay, and that's all fine, really, seriously. If that's what you do, that's awesome. But what I want to point out is watch the levels of fear.
Yeah,
We're in that time period now where we will be getting a lot of fear-oriented messaging again. And our so-called controller program or negative agenda will ebb and flow in our constant, and I mean constant, programming of fear-based narratives. They'll get us to this fear about something, and then that'll take kind of a flat line because people will finally get bored with it and move on. And then they got to find another one. So it's constant
yeah,
like this from the programming side of the negative agenda. So, if indeed that's what you are listening to and watching and following for, please, if you choose, discern in your own body and say, is this a truth for me, or did I just get wrapped up again? Because we're really ramping up on that stuff again. And that March period is always a time when they will get it. Now think about March, April period. Not only are we having season changes, okay, we're having ascension changes. We have a time zone change when we have daylight savings time. It throws the body off. We have fear mongering around taxes and returns and money paid, etc. So these bigger negative agendas will know that flow of collective consciousness fear increases anyway, and they'll just push that crap up even farther. So be aware that we get beat up at this time of the year from a lot of different places. And if we are not being extra diligent, we can get this crud, which is a lot of times just the crud. But I think what is interesting right now is that the crud is lingering.
yeah, it is.
It's
Yeah.
lingering 2 weeks, 3 weeks, 4 weeks. I have a son who did it for 4 weeks. He got better for a week. His wife got it. He went right back to 2 more weeks. And so it's important also to kind of look at holistic and Western medicine too, in terms of how much holistic attention was Kim giving Kim's self when she was being the human doing machine, right?
Right.
Because holistic measures sometimes don't work on the flip side when we're already exhausted 6 weeks out. The holistic measure works better as a continual way of life so that we don't get into a 6 week out situation. Sometimes the 6 weeks out situation really calls for an actual antibiotic because your body just can't do it anymore.
Right.
So it's one of those fine balances where we also maybe want to step back in ego and go, okay, at this point, I do need some Western medicine help. I need an antibiotic, but don't also jump right into antibiotics either if you're doing the maintenance work. So it's a fine dance right now, right?
It's a really because you go on the web and it's like, okay, what it like symptoms, and looking for something more natural that helps to boost your immune system. I
Right?
think that's always good. I mean, we should
Yeah.
be doing
I
that
mean, we
during the
should do
season
right.
without getting sick. Come
Right.
on. I mean, um, and so there were some really good options for that, but I did do a teleconference with a doctor when I was out of town,
Mhm.
and they prescribed a few things for me, but not an antibiotic because this virus, they're like, it's not an antibiotic thing.
Right.
I don't think I was infected enough at that point for them to give me an antibiotic, but
And that in and
um,
of itself, Kim, is another dance because even with my son at the beginning, he was like you. It wasn't
yeah.
antibiotic oriented. By the time his wife got it and he re-got it, it was completely antibiotic oriented.
Mhm.
So the viruses are changing even within our own bodies. So we're needing to be responsible even above and beyond that doctor to say, okay, yeah, but now I'm
Yeah.
doing some different symptoms and I need some different help. So there's so much self-responsibility in this
Mhm.
stuff. And I think a lot of us give our power away to a lot of, you know, protocol, drugs, doctors, instead of just really being on top of it for ourselves. That's why I wanted to bring this one up today.
Yeah, no, that's a good I truly this season, when you go into before Thanksgiving all the way through like into April,
Yep.
there should be that you should be boosting your immune system. And I
Right.
really wasn't, I was not doing that.
And I
Um,
want to jump back to what you said. You said that you were taking some things that maybe didn't agree with you. And again, not judging you or anyone, but when we are already struggling and then we throw in a really tough cleanse,
mm,
cleanses aren't always great.
right.
Cleanses can actually make you way weaker in terms of your immune system. So oftentimes people think, well, I'm just going to clean all this shit out and I'm going to get back on track, blah, blah, blah. But it's almost the time when you don't want to do a water cleanse and throw in the fruits and veggies. What you want to do is you want to keep that consistency of normalcy in your body and
Mhm.
add in the supplements of fruits and veggies on top of it with extra water instead of going cold turkey, because then the body's in shock.
Right.
And I know better than anybody with all the cleanses that I did when literally my hair was falling out. I mean, that was my body's like, stop cleansing me. We can't do
Yeah.
anything more. We're going to just like shed everything. So these are things to think about too, because our mind goes, well, holistically, I'm just going to get all this crap out of me. And
Yeah.
the body isn't ready.
Yeah. I was so bloated after the
Yeah.
holidays and just didn't feel good from all the things. And thought, oh my gosh, I'll just do that and it'll kind of like reset
Quick
my
fix.
body.
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah.
I think
Yeah.
it made me very vulnerable. And the biggest thing was I know that I need protein and I need animal protein. And
Yep.
I didn't do that for, what was it, 14 days. And I think that was too much of a change for me. Because I wasn't also getting the good fats and different things in my system that I usually would do.
So lesson learned to know your own body and really respect it instead of thinking that you were going to do what everybody else says to, kind of a thing.
Yeah,
The tough
absolutely.
part too is that sleep thing. And I think that we are all having really erratic sleep patterns
Mhm.
right now because of the energies that are going on anyway. But I would like to point out that even if you're not sleeping, especially when you're struggling how you are for weeks and days and weeks, is to rest. And it's that resting thing, go lay down and rest. And I mean, really rest. Don't just watch Netflix rest, because Netflix rest is not real rest. Netflix rest is Netflix brain. And you want the body to actually align, mentally as well as that emotional and physical and spiritual. So it's real rest. And that's hard for people, because even people like you, I've known you so long. You were the 3D doing machine extraordinaire, as was
Mhm.
I. And then the more
Mhm.
we've done this work, we've really settled into a better balance with that. But man, you went from one thing to the other, to the other, to the other, and you slipped right, boom, back into that 3D. Well, and I can guarantee you resting wasn't on your to-do list,
No, it
right?
wasn't. It wasn't. And two, I mean, I think a big change for me, because in Hawaii, I was walking around barefooted on the ground and I had my feet
Yeah,
in the water. I had my body in the water. I was swimming. I was doing, and my body was loving that. I know
yeah,
it was. And then you have to put shoes on and get back on a plane where the people behind me were coughing the whole way home,
yeah.
and and my body just didn't make that transition. I didn't work with myself to positively make that transition well. And so this week, I actually went and sat on the side of my deck and put my feet in the grass.
Yep.
And for some reason in Minnesota right now, we're already in spring.
What is
There's
that,
nothing
right?
on.
I was
My
67
daffodils
yesterday.
are like this tall outside. I'm like, What's happening?"
I
But I
know.
seriously, it was warm out, and I went out in the sunshine, and I put my feet in the grass and connected with the trees and, did that whole thing, and it did make me feel energetically better,
Yes.
like helping to move the things out, and, I could feel a big difference after doing that, so
And replacing that literally with what you just articulated right there, replacing that with that so-called, cleanse of water and blah, 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 is going
mhm,
to help you 10 times with the amount of rest, vitamin D, getting into your actual physical form and trusting it again versus starving it and almost, making it feel like it's a bad guy. So we want to really understand the mechanics of the emotions of the body too, because when we're cleansing, sometimes it's like starving ourselves of the nutrients of emotion as well, because we
Mhm.
think something has to get out. And so I even when I work with people, for example, that are sick with cancers or radiations or chemos or all of those things aren't dissimilar in that we don't want things to get out of us. We want to transmute.
Mhm. Right.
Even when we're sick, we all want to get better. We want it gone. We want it out. And it's a really awesome idea to sit with, inviting it to just simply transmute. Yes, you're sick because I feel like shit because my body's fighting within itself to get better.
Yeah.
That's actually an amazing concept. We can really honor that by saying, oh my God, the reason why my nose is so stuffed up is it's transmuting what doesn't need to be there anymore. So it's really important for us to even allow ourselves to go through organic stages of sickness
Well, I
without wanting
found
it to
myself
go away.
actually becoming angry with my body many times.
See?
And it would just be a track that would start to play like, "Why are you not figuring this out?" Like, and it was just all in my head. But then I would step back and be like, "Oh my gosh, I love you and thank you for,
Hmm.
working with me and let's like and so that would put me more into I would sit down and do a meditation or a prayer to just bring it back in, like the love
Yeah.
quotient and the appreciation because I it was easy to fall into that. What the hell?
Yep.
What are you doing to me?
Well, and a lot of it will come from really simple triggers, Kim. Like, for example, you, especially you, are so empathic. You're in Hawaii. You're feeling the collective energies of the whole entire, situation that happened down there. You're feeling the water. You're feeling the dolphins and the whales. You're feeling all of that stuff. And you
Mhm.
did great with that. We had another podcast on that recently. Yet, that's a big chunk, right? So you're already vulnerable. Then you get on a plane with actual other humanoids hacking and spewing that you all of a sudden feel like you're victimized because you're attacking me and I don't have any control over that. It isn't a conscious thing as much as it's a subconscious
It
thing. So
is.
now we go from a collective input to, I don't want your junk. Oh my God. And it's this craziness in our
I get
field.
on
I
an
mean, it's
airplane like
literally
this,
like my
going, "What's
hands.
happening?"
Yeah. And our field is just right. So these are really difficult for us because the plane in and of itself has a fear mongering to it of germs anyway, as does the people. And then we get pissed because I'm being victimized by the idiot that's next to me, kind of a concept. So these are all emotional things where our brain mind then comes over our heart space that then completely imbalances my whole system once again. So
Yeah.
it's very much about mind over matter, and that's hard,
Yeah,
right?
and I really was so tired, I didn't recognize some of the signs. I
Yeah.
wasn't paying attention. And that's where it's like, why wasn't I paying attention to myself? And then you start that process of going, beating yourself up, and it's
Mhm.
like, "Nope, mm, we need
Mhm.
to, calm this all down and, uh,
Right.
feel like and balance everything out." Um,
Even those of us that haven't been sick are feeling really, I think, huge amounts of ascension awareness. We are having symptoms like crazy again. It is like, oh my gosh, I was the other day, I'm doing some supplements that are really helping too with some balance on, joints and fruits and veggies and all that stuff. And I'm like, yeah, this is feeling really great. Well, then I went for a walk like 3, 4 days ago, and my butt and my legs and my hips, I'm like, oh my God, I feel like I'm 100, right? The next day, I'm like, "Are you seriously kidding me?" And so then you get mad at yourself, and
mhm.
then it's like, "Okay, but I have been doing these other exercises pretty consistently." So it's like, is it my age? Is it I'm not doing enough? Is it because it's the Ascension? And you do this like flick off of the list in your head,
Yep.
and it's
Mhm.
ridiculous because
Yeah.
it can get you into such a rabbit hole of not liking yourself that it's important for us to say, "Okay, I'm not gonna walk as far as I wanted to today because my hips are really acting up, but at least I walked, right? And I
Great.
don't have to walk every day. 3 days a week, 3 times a week is great. It's 3 more than you did last month, and those kinds of, I think, giving yourself really awesome space to be able to own small victories is extremely important right now.
It's so important, and getting back to journaling because I was journaling in Hawaii and writing prayer and doing some things and, um, hitting the ground running after I got back. I wasn't doing any of that. So
Yeah,
I was not sitting with myself at all.
yeah.
It was just run, run, run.
So tell me before we go on then, what does that do to like relationships with like your husband? Does he notice that you're really often he's more snappy, or is he like, "Oh, I have to help you?" Or I mean, what does the ripple effect
Mm.
happen when you're really off like that?
Well, with the contagious stuff, like, what are you thinking I'm contagious?
Yeah.
He's like, "Yeah, keep your distance."
Yeah. Yeah. Right?
But he also was taking very good care of himself and staying in his routine food-wise.
Okay.
He has a vitamin a supplement that he likes to take, and, every morning he drinks his little glass of orange juice, and, he's fine. He hasn't
Okay.
had any symptoms whatsoever. Helpful in that it'd be nice if somebody made me chicken noodle soup. No, that's not happening.
Well, they
But
don't
I was
change.
also with my mom and dad when I was getting sick in my family, so
Yeah.
everybody was helpful, but
Yeah.
my daughter had it too, so, between the 2 of us, we were really spreading the love,
Well, I was gonna say you really shared the love. I was just gonna say that you really
yeah,
shared the love.
yeah,
Wow, that's a lot.
oh, yeah,
Yeah,
it is, it's a
yeah.
lot,
And I
but
do think it is important to be respectful in terms of, I don't feel well, so I am not coming to the family gathering because
yeah.
I really am thinking of all of you as well as me, and I think that's important too.
Yeah, the
So,
hard part was I got sick when I got down there,
yeah, your
so I didn't
timing was
know.
just you were
Yeah,
just one thing after another.
yeah,
So,
yeah.
yeah, it's hard. It's not easy being human, right?
It's not, and then, so talk a little bit in preparation of, like, talking about what's happening coming up, with
Well, I am really watching consistency for me. And again, I'm not going crazy with it. So I think between, like I said, April, we've got equinox next, what is it, Tuesday? I think is the 19th.
yeah.
And
Oh,
so it is the 19th is equinox, which is funny because it's usually 2021. And that will be interesting. And between that and the April 8th eclipse, the solar eclipse, a lot of people are saying this is going to be really rocking things. They're even closing some schools. I mean, it's crazy what they're doing across the country. I don't know if they're closing schools to let them go experience it, or if they think there's a million conspiracy theories flying around too, like, oh, something's going to happen. And it's important for us to not play into that stuff either.
yeah.
Because, like, why are we going to give that energy and feed that narrative if something isn't going to happen? If it happens, it's going to happen anyway. So, what are you going to do? So, I think to stay consistent with some semblance of protocols. The reason why your husband also stays out of getting the credit is because his belief system says, I'm still taking my supplements and I'm drinking my orange juice. I'm taking care of myself. So, these are parts, this is what I was telling my kids. I do thieves like a mad woman during this time of year. And I put it on the bottom of my feet every single night and lots of times in the morning as well. And I just rub it into the palms of my feet. And I know that helps my brain keep myself into the concept of I'm fine. I'm monitoring this all the time. And I'm doing whatever supplements right now and ramp that up during this time period. I don't necessarily do fruit and veggie and joint supplements in the summertime, but at this time when we have a lot more germs flying around, I do. I ramp that up. Watching the water quotient differently, watching the rest. And I am absolutely, for the first time, really having no conditions attached to I'm going to literally go outside and sit in a chair and do nothing for 15 minutes. And
Oh,
that
nice.
15 minutes can turn into a half hour. And there's nothing about me that says I have to go in and do the dishes because it just doesn't matter. And
Yeah.
I'm really good with that right now. Like, especially, I'm making a very strong effort to get into the sun at different
Mhm.
parts of the day so that that actual vitamin D, because we are so fortunate right now in Minnesota to be having that.
Gorgeous.
And sitting outside in 67 degrees yesterday with the sun barreling into our face was amazing.
Mhm.
And I think it's important for us to get a good quotient of sun without overdoing it and wrecking ourselves in our skin and our eyes and our this and our that. But to get the good quotient, it's our self responsibility. And man, a lot of people don't do that, and it's free.
Yeah, I know. That's one of the things that I used to do pretty consistently was step outside, and when the sun is kinda coming up or it's at a, lower, it's supposedly to look up at the sun like that, it resets your cortisol. So your
There's a
body.
lot of stuff on the internet right now. I was doing some sun work yesterday and my daughter was screaming at me because she has the other belief system that no, you need all of the oils and the lotions on and you have to have the eye coverage and I'm like, that's not necessarily my belief system. And so, we were doing the clash on that yesterday. I don't necessarily believe that I want to be staring into the sun for long amounts of times, but I am working on allowing myself to be able to be without constantly doing this from the sun. I'm working with it. And a really great thing is to put your hands like this. Like if I'm the sun, my face, you do this so that you're seeing it in cracks and bits and pieces versus wah. And there's a lot of information out there that says that it does reset many things, including, by the way, not just the cortisol, but your pineal gland and your
Mm,
psychic senses and your eye. There's a whole theory out there that it even helps your eyes heal. So, take what resonates for
mhm.
yourself because nobody knows. I was listening to this podcast on it with like 5 different people, and the dude that was running it says, I don't have any idea if that's true or not. So I'm probably going to go blind and we'll figure out that I was wrong. Like, okay, well, nobody knows. There's theories on everything. So
Everything.
just take everything with
Yeah.
a grain of salt and take everything in small quotients at this point because it is going to be so erratic. And it depends on where you're at. I mean, I'm doing a lot of different protocols for my own mental health. I'm
Mm.
doing a lot more meditative time. I'm doing more like yoga sutras. I'm understanding some concepts more. I'm applying things on a more consistent basis. And when you are in command and control of your life like that, it does reset your brain to go, I'm already healthy. I don't need to. I sat in that office today going, I don't need to have a mask. I'm fine.
Mm.
And it doesn't mean I'm
Yeah.
arrogant and I'm special and I'm better. It just is a mindset. If you're
Mhm.
the one that's in the corner saying, I can't even touch that doorknob because I might get something, man, those germs love you, right?
Yeah,
So
absolutely.
it's all about balance, and especially during this volatile time, if you're putting in a good quotient of consistent self-care, you're going to be able to ride the wave of the crazy, crazy in some form or fashion differently from those around you. Now, that said, we then, of course, trigger things like mirroring. If I'm more calm and my partner or my friends or my family or my coworker or my boss aren't, then it's going to be like, you know? So remember, if you're at a different frequency during this chaos time, don't allow that mirroring or projection game affect your field. Be diligent about that stuff. It's important.
It is, and to be aware.
Does that make
Again,
sense?
I think that I was
Oh,
so.
we froze. You froze.
Am I still
Okay.
going? There I am.
Well, I'm
You
going to
froze.
wind this down anyway, even
You
though Kim
froze.
froze. Maybe we'll just end it there. Okay, everybody, take what resonates. Oh, there you are. I was
There
going to
you
say,
are.
wind
We
it down.
both froze. You were frozen on my end.
Oh, that's so funny. I think we'll just leave it like that.
Your advice must be really good because they were shutting you down. They're saying,
Oh, it
don't
says
pay
I'm.
attention to what she said because
That's
it's
right.
important.
Don't listen to her because you don't want to fix yourself. Oh my God, it's saying my internet is unstable. It's because don't listen to that self-care. Heaven forbid. Anyway, we were rounding down anyway. Is there anything else you want to add from your lessons for the month?
Just, pay attention. I think that I
Yeah,
wasn't paying attention,
right.
and just kept going and
And
thought
find
everything.
gratitude, joy. I mean, find the things that are great. I mean, good God, for us right now, I've just been staring outside going, the trees are budding. This is fantastic, I
It's
think,
insane
you
right
know.
now. It's so not Minnesota. It's weird.
Well, you know what I decided today? I think the reason why we're getting this gift is because last year we didn't even get a spring. We went right from all of the winter. We had the snow globe winter last year, remember, which was beautiful in some regards. We went from snow globe winter into the 70s. We had no spring at all. So I think the universe is just gifting us the spring.
I
I,
love
that's
it.
what
I'll
I'm
take
going
it.
for.
It's beautiful. The
All
birds are
right,
back.
anybody,
I love it.
anybody that's listening, take what resonates in your own world. If this is stuff that you want to do, great, make up your own, have some fun with it. And if you like this, subscribe, hit share, tell your friends about it. We love being on here for you, and we are certainly open to comments and ideas. And so on behalf of us, until next time, cosmic hugs.
Goodbye.